You just set up your aquarium, you've added your plants, you've added your fish, and it's all supposed to be thriving, right? But it's not clicking. And that's super common in the aquascaping hobby. I've made these mistakes just as well as you have. And today we're gonna go through and uncover the top 5 most beginner common aquascaping mistakes that people are still making today. And we're gonna fix them and show you how to prevent these moving forward in any scape you have in the future. And oh, guess what? Tip number 5 is one of the most controversial topics that I will die on the hill for. So let's go through and make sure you watch all the way to the end and have these conversations and bring them to light and show you how to fix them and prevent them all in the future. Mistake number 1 is picking the wrong plants. So you're scrolling through the web, you're super excited, you're gonna be setting up your new aquarium. I'm excited for you as well. And you pick some carpeting plants because you're scrolling through Instagram, you're seeing some lovely aquariums set up, and you're thinking, I want those. I also want these vibrant red plants in my aquarium. And you're just picking the more demanding plants in your aquarium that requires probably CO2 and some type of macronutrients, and you're not going to be able to really thrive right out the gate with those. Try a simple aquarium when you're first starting out. Try simple plants, right? And how can you fix something maybe that you've already done, and making sure that you can get the right plants that are actually adding and pulling nutrients out of the water column, benefiting the environment or the bioscape that you're creating. So the plants that I recommend are crypts. You can go through, and I have some crypts in right here. They're amazing, easy growing plants. Anubises as well. Anubises are one of the hardiest plants in your aquarium. They don't require a lot of light. You want very hardy, low light, low requirement plants when you're first starting out, because you want to be successful. I want you to be successful so that you can keep pushing forward in this hobby as well. So anubises, crypts, ferns, although I don't really like ferns because how they look, they get a little dodgy. They have like brown tips and stringers that go out. So, I mean, you can get ferns, but I don't like ferns. But anyways, so those are some of the ones that I recommend first starting out in the hobby. Are definitely some crypts as you're going through, some anubises. Like this tank right here has mostly anubises all throughout it, right? There's anubises right over here. We have some repens in the front as well. So just easy plants that aren't going to require a lot of nutrients, a lot of macronutrients to thrive, or a lot of light requirement, right? Although I do suggest just buying the best light right off the start. But anyways, let's continue on to mistake number 2. Now, mistake number 2 is trying to cram everything you can from a hardscape perspective into one small tank, or a larger tank, or just having everything in the foreground. So you have your wood, maybe you have some rocks, and you're just like, hey, let's put this as close to the front as we can because we want everything to be more showy. And you're not understanding that you need more depth. You need to also compensate for flow in your aquarium. As this one is now algae free, you can check out my recent video right up. It's up here, where I cleaned this up in just 1 week. So if you have an algae breakout and you're just starting out, go check that video out. It's gonna help you. But yeah, basically you're going through and just putting everything from a hardscape perspective and not thinking of symmetry in an aquarium. You're just starting out. I've only been in the hobby for about 1.5 years now, and I still pre-scape, right? Some of those folks that have been in the hobby for so long can just do it on a whim. I still can't. I probably won't, because I love redesigning, thinking through methodically, and just make sure you're going through and placing things in right before, getting nice symmetry, creating depth in your aquarium when you're first starting out. You want to mentally divide the aquarium in 3x3 in thirds. Just think of the rule of thirds, especially with depth. You have a smaller, and then you have a next higher, and then you have an even higher one, okay? So rules of third, the golden rule as you're going through and designing your aquarium, helps create that sense of depth. Smaller, medium, larger, towards the back. Does that make sense? Yeah, it does. Cool. Mistake number 3 is skipping the nitrogen cycle of your aquarium. Going through and rushing your aquarium without enough beneficial bacteria It's going to cause ammonia spikes, nitrate spikes as you're going through, and it's going to stunt your plant growth. It's going to harm your fish. It's going to harm your shrimp for sure if you're rushing this process. And how do you make sure that you're fixing this issue? Highly recommend not adding any hard demanding plants at the startup of your aquarium, or adding any fish while you're going through and letting your beneficial bacteria colony cycle through your aquarium. Wait. It is one of the hardest things to do because you've been searching, you've got everything ready, and you're like, I want fish now, or shrimp. I love shrimp. So just being aware that you don't want to immediately add those things in, and your most expensive plants, right? You just spend all that money too on those. This hobby is a little expensive, I'm sorry, but it is. That's truth. And you don't want to waste your money and also harm your fish or any of your inhabitants that you're purchasing, right? So make sure to have a successful aquarium. You let that nitrogen cycle happen, and you wait as you're going through and testing that aquarium so that you have a balanced aquarium. Then you can start adding your more expensive plants, then your lovely fish that you went through to the store and picked up or ordered, or your shrimp. Shrimp are a lot longer. You'll be able to tune in my next video that's going to be coming out soon about keeping Caridina shrimp, which are my most prized and beautiful shrimp in the aquarium hobby that I feel for freshwater. But anyways, and in order for your aquarium to cycle, you need to make sure you're adding beneficial bacteria at the startup. I use Quick Start from API for all of my beneficial bacteria startup. You want to test daily or even weekly. You want to make sure your ammonia is at 0, your nitrates are at 0. So then you start seeing a peak of your nitrates, which is all of the conversion of all of that bad stuff, ammonias and nitrates, over to nitrates, which are the best part of your aquarium. I keep mine at about 20 parts per million to about 40 parts per million in my aquariums, just as a rule of thumb. So you go 0, 0, and then about 20 to 40 is okay. Now, with that, you've cycled your aquarium, you're ready to move on. Let's talk about the fourth mistake. The fourth mistake is not enough light or too little light. That's the same thing. Too much light, too little light in your aquarium, or not a consistent schedule. So when you're first starting your aquarium, the most underrated thing is making sure your light's not on for 8 or 10 hours starting out as your aquarium's finding its balance. I start all of my aquariums whenever they are fresh and brand new at 6 hours. That may be because I have more expensive lighting. If you're in a more not as expensive lighting, you may get away with a little bit longer of hourage. Just make sure you buy a light that has a timer, so you have consistent lighting schedules on those aquariums, especially for your plants and your life in that aquarium, because you want to make sure that that lighting is balanced, right? It has enough spread in the aquarium where it's not having any dead spots. That's why I really recommend just going out and purchasing a House light when you're first starting out. It will be expensive. I'm sorry, you'll love me for it anyways. And have a timer, right? Making sure you're having a consistent schedule. The reason why I like House lights is they have more depth. So when you're looking at one and you're purchasing it, sometimes majority of the brands are this thin, and they're not covering the full depth of the tank, and they're not penetrating the tank deep enough through the water itself, which is actually getting to the lower plants in the foreground, or any of your lower plants that you're having in your aquarium. And you want to make sure there's no dead spots like wood that's covering an area for those demanding plants, right, as you're going through and looking at it. So lighting is hyper important as you're going through and starting out. When you're first starting out, if you're having a breakout of algae or things aren't going as planned, turn that light down a little bit and you'll start seeing a little bit more of a reverse. And then as you're going on and your aquarium has found its cycle, like we just talked about how to cycle, you can start ramping it up a little bit. You'll find that sweet spot of like 7 hours, 8 hours for having its runtime. The final mistake is setting up your aquarium and forgetting about it. There's a lot of buzz around this. This is gonna be controversial. People are gonna go through, you probably went through and looked for the lowest maintenance tank ever. I 100% agree that you could probably make that happen, but it's not going to be a long living aquarium that you can have set up. You're going to comment, someone's commenting right now as they're watching this saying, I've done it, it's 100% possible. But I think there's a big myth in this aquascaping hobby that you can get 100% away with no maintenance in your aquarium at all, meaning never touching it, never doing anything except topping off the water. I 100% disagree with this thought process because those folks are probably only having their aquarium set up for 6 months. You just set up your aquarium and you probably want it running longer than that because you just spent all this money, right? So very underrated or misconceived or a myth that's out there is not maintaining your aquarium. You can set it up, you can forget about it. Highly disagree with that. In order for you to have a thriving aquarium, even out in nature, you have runoff of water, you have evaporation, new water coming in, right? All of these new minerals in that water that you're adding, removing all the old stagnant minerals, that happens in nature. Right now in your aquarium, you have a stagnant water area. It's flowing, it has a filter, but no water is being removed or added, right? Brand new water, removing a lot of that macronutrients that's filling up the aquarium has to happen. So make sure when you're going through, you're cleaning that aquarium and always doing water changes about bi-weekly. You can get away with when you're finally set up a thriving aquarium. The most I've gotten away with on this tank was 2 months. The most I've gotten away with this tank is 3 weeks, just more demanding, a lot more feeding happens because there's a lot more fish in this aquarium. But as you're going through, you'll find the best routine for that setup that you've created. It is setup specific, so you can't just say all of my tanks get this unless they're all exactly one-to-one, but making sure you're maintaining that aquarium at whatever schedule you find is the groove for you with those aquariums. As the years go on, you'll be able to do less and less, but never have I been able to get away with nothing for a long-standing aquarium, okay? Things that have been around for a year consistently have to have removed water so it doesn't decline in water quality and actual plant growth, okay? That is my opinion, because even if you have a long-standing aquarium, you still have to go and trim it, right? You have to go and remove stuff, so there's still maintenance. Maintenance happens. There is no tank that you can just set and forget. So just remember that as you're going through, make sure you find the right maintenance routine for your aquarium. All right, so let's recap this. I want you to be successful as you're watching this, setting up any future aquarium or fixing any issues that you currently have. So let's go through and recap everything we just went through. You're gonna go through number one, picking out the correct starting plants, the right plants that are going to be easy for you to get into this hobby. Then we went through and talked about pre-planning, the right way to go through and plan your scape out so you're making sure it's going to be the most optimal viewing angles as you're looking at your scape. And then we went through and talked about cycling, which is one of the most important things in the aquascaping hobby, and that means giving it time. Then we went through and talked about lighting, right? Keeping your lighting between 6 to 8 hours, 6 when you're starting out, then seeing how far you can ramp up to get to that 8 hours as you're going through. A timer is 100% important. Then we also went through and talked about how maintenance schedules are important and breaking the myth that you can get away with no maintenance in an aquarium. And if you disagree with me, let's have a conversation over in the community area so that we can talk about that as a discussion as well. But if you found this helpful, please put in the comments below. If you have any questions, please put in the comments below. I will respond to you. I want you to have a successful aquarium and be just as excited as I am with sharing you all the information that I've learned along the way in this hobby. And if you're an experienced aquascaper, please put any additional ones that I missed down in the comment area below to help everyone move forward and have the best home aquascape or wherever their aquascape is in the future. And also, if you haven't checked out my latest video, check it out right here. And until next time, I'll see you all on the next tip video.